Tonight we're going to be talking about and listening to the debate. I'm glad you guys could all join us. So, all right, let's start it up. They're already talking. So, more technical difficulties. Give me a second. Just remember, everybody, we're new at this, so.
Yes, and that ended when we, in fact, passed.
Okay, here we go.
We got Bayne there.
Million people have pre-existing conditions, and they'll be taken away as well. Those pre-existing conditions, insurance companies are going to love this. And so it's just not appropriate to do this before this election. If he wins the election and the Senate is Democrat or Republican, then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February.
All right. There aren't 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. As far as the say is concerned, the people already had their say. Okay, Justice Ginsburg said very powerfully, very strongly, at some point, 10 years ago or so, she said a president and the Senate is elected for a period of time, but a president's elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years. So we have the Senate, we have a president.
He's elected to the next
during
election.
that period of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for 3 years. I'm elected for 4 years.
The
And the
election's
100
already
million
started.
people, Joe, the 100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number. The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care that they're very
That's
happy
simply
with.
not true.
Well, you're certainly
knows
going
that.
to socialist.
Go
You're
ahead.
going to socialist medicine.
We're now into, gentlemen, we're now into.
Hey, Kirby, can you
Let's
turn
go.
their volume down?
Yes,
a
I
little bit?
agree. Go ahead, Vice President.
yeah.
Number one, he knows that what I proposed. What I proposed is that
100 million
we
people with
expand
pre-existing conditions. That's
and
a
we
third of the
do
country.
not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of
Yep.
my colleagues trying to win the
Give me
nomination.
a second there.
We're saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance.
Yeah, feel free to just
They can.
chime
They will.
in.
They will under my proposal.
It's not what you said,
But
and it's not what
that
your
is-
party has said.
That is simply
Your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your
That
party
is
wants to
simple.
go socialist
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist
Right
healthcare.
now, I am
And
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of. Now, here's the deal. The deal is that this.
What'd he say there?
What he approved of. Joe hadn't approved of anything. He's had everything shoved at him.
Died on his watch.
Here, Joe, if you want to be the presidential candidate, here's what you're going to do.
Well, there's 7 million people that contracted COVID. What does it mean for them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act? And
Joe, you've had
pre-existing
308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military. So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And if
this.
you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't be
the deal.
200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
All right, gentlemen,
Europe, which
no,
was heavily
Mr. President,
infected. You would have
Mr.
been much
President,
later, Joe.
Mr.
Much
President,
later.
Why'd the moderator have to cut in? I like to cut it without it.
the moderator,
Well, here's the problem. They're both talking about government health care.
Let me finish.
There's the Republican plan or there's the
Also,
Democrat plan.
As opposed to Roe v. Wade.
Somebody explain to me where the federal government is supposed to be involved in their health care
So that's
at all.
at stake right now.
I would say
So the
none.
election is all
You don't know it's on the ballot. Why is it on the ballot?
Because
Why is
you
it on the
said
ballot? It's not
you're-
on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the
I
court.
don't think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening.
That's not a
there.
ballot, you dumbass.
And you don't know our view.
The
on
ballot. The
your-
ballot. Oh.
our view.
well, all right, let's talk. We got a lot to unpack here, gentlemen. We got a lot of time. So on health care, and then we'll come back to Roe v. Wade.
all right.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn
That's right.
Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last...
Because they want to give good health care.
If I may ask my question, sir.
Good health care.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes,
to
I have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well, I'll
I
give
got
you
rid of the
Kevin,
individual
I'm going to give you an
Excuse me.
opportunity.
I
Here we
got
go.
rid of the
I mean,
individual
again,
mandate.
yeah,
which
he's
is
talked about it.
That's a
Of
That
course,
is
it would have been helpful if
absolutely a
the
bad thing. That was the
Republicans
worst
in
part of
Congress had the balls
You're
to do
debating
something.
your part of
Let
Obama.
me
But
ask you.
again,
I'll ask you.
government health care,
Individual
Republican or
mandate was the most
Democrat,
unpopular
Mr.
it's
Vice
still the
President,
government getting
I got
involved,
rid of it.
I'd like you
And we
to,
will
Mr.
protect
and it's
the
not
President,
supposed to
I'm
be.
moderator of
I'm
this
sorry,
debate.
it's not in the
Let
Constitution.
me ask
It's
my
not the
question.
federal government's responsibility.
You
Amen. You're
reported
preaching
before
to
your
the choir
very
here.
comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare, and just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order
How about scrap it all?
with pre-existing conditions.
Just
5
get the
days
government out of it,
debate.
period.
So my
Yeah,
question,
exactly.
sir, is,
Scrap
what
it.
is the
Get rid of
Trump
it.
healthcare plan?
Get rid of all that
First of all,
care,
I guess I'm debating you, not
that
him.
Obamacare,
I'm not surprised. Let me just tell
that
you,
Romney care,
there's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going
the
with
fascist
vaccination,
care.
which no president has the courage to do because you're going against.
I mean, I almost rather have
Drug prices will be coming
single
down
payer
80
than
to
the fascist
90%.
care,
You
because
could
at
have
least
done it during
then,
the 47-year
I mean, I don't want it at all, but I
You
mean,
didn't
if
do
you're
it.
going to have it at all, I'd rather have that than
So we're
something
cutting
that
health
forces
care.
me to
All
buy
of
it.
the things that we've done,
He has not cut
insulin. I
health
give
care.
you an example. Insulin. It was destroying families, destroying people because I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water. You wanna
Insulin's
know the truth.
destroying
So cheap.
families? What's he
Take a look at
talking
all
about?
of the drugs.
I think we missed the part. It's talking about the cost of it.
We're going to allow our governors now to
And I
get.
know
Oh,
people who have to use insulin, and they tell me all the time how expensive it is.
So,
okay.
So I have read recently a couple of articles from different sources that the prices are coming down as a result of Trump's efforts. Now, what those efforts are,
you would like to add a
who knows?
option.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. I mean,
Argument
when you have,
now the
you know, when
Republicans
you have
is
someone in the,
in private insurance.
in the government, doing things to make things cheaper, it's artificial, and that's not good.
Government takeover of health.
No, it'll eventually come back to bite you.
They're so poor they
Yep,
qualify for
always does.
they can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would, Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the public option.
Is it just me, or does he look like he's hopped up on something?
That option, number one.
They
Keep
probably
him
have to
awake.
give him something to keep him awake for the debate.
On the manifest,
Well,
and that
manifest-
gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey.
So basically, they need to give Biden uppers, and they need to give Trump downers.
I'm here standing facing you, old buddy.
Pocahontas would have left 2 days earlier.
Pocahontas.
All he knows how to
on
do is
Super
hurt.
Tuesday. You got
Look,
very lucky.
here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well.
Now we're talking about Pocahontas.
Sure, because here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar. I just want to make sure.
And Biden is a paragon of truth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. President, can you let him finish, sir?
He doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be surprised.
you pick
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy,
Go.
the wrong night at the
Oh,
wrong.
just arm wrestle or something. Come on.
Yeah, I'm not a Trump fan, but he definitely is like
So number
Please let
one,
him speak, Mr.
definitely like taking Biden out here.
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
folks,
That's absolutely
folks,
agreed
do you
to,
have any
and under that
idea
plan,
what
you have
this clown's
socialized,
doing?
They call it
Mr.
do you
Medicare.
have any
President.
do?
Socialized medicine.
Mr.
Well, I
President,
tell you what, he is not for.
I wonder if Biden's going to
I
get
can't
blood.
wait for. Come on, man.
I wonder if Biden's going to get bloodshot eyes.
Who knows?
10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two, there are 20 million people getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't ever.
Thanks for watching, Kevin.
He wants to do. Take it away.
No, I want to give
Hey,
members
Floyd,
Yeah.
much lower
on
price.
your personal page, I sent you a link. You might want to update the link since it goes to the old one we had trouble with.
Okay.
A simple thing.
I sent it to you in the private chat.
realize if you're both speaking at the
It's no
same
good,
time,
and it's too expensive.
let the president go ahead, sir.
Obamacare is no good. We made it better, and I had a choice to make very early on.
Oh,
we took
you hear that? We made Obamacare better.
pre-existing conditions. We took away the individual
Yeah,
mandate.
we gilded a turd.
No, wait.
That's what they-
Did you hear what he said? He said we got rid of the individual mandate. No, they didn't. They zeroed it out,
It really well.
which means any president, Biden or Trump, can always bring it back. They didn't get rid of it.
Okay. I said, you got to run it so well.
That's what
And
he's
I
known
just
for.
had a meeting with them. They said the problem
See how
is
they
no matter
always bend the truth?
how you run Obamacare.
Yeah,
It's
I
too
guess it's a
expensive.
question of
Premiums are
who
too
bends
high.
it better, right?
So
Yeah.
we do want to get rid of it. Chris, we want to get rid of it.
I understand it, sir, but I have to give
Wow.
you roughly equal time.
I
Please.
watched the Hillary Trump debate, and that was boring compared to this.
Please.
He sends out wishful thinking.
I mean, Chris Wallace is letting them bicker and yell at each other.
He's been promising
Oh yeah,
healthcare
and
for
see, and I don't know if Chris Wallace is a liberal conservative or what he is, but the other people were definitely liberals. It was Anderson Cooper, and I can't remember the other guy.
This man doesn't know.
All
right.
Anyway, they're like, you must follow the rules. You must. Oh, you're talking out of space. Oh. And it's like, really? Come on, quit being such nanny state people. Well, I guess they are, but.
And confirm.
Well, I guess on the plus side, there's no in-studio audience, so that you don't have all those people out there cackling and making noise.
Oh yeah, they were chastising in the Hillary Trump debate. They were chastising the audience too.
It wasn't brought up by the president.
Please be quiet. You agreed to be quiet. You're not being quiet. You're wasting time.
The question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote.
Answer the damn question.
Senators know how strongly you feel.
I hate politicians.
Sure, you in fact let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why would
because
you answer that
because
question?
the question is the
radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list?
Will you shut up, man?
Come on, man.
Pack the court.
We have
We're
no,
not
no.
going to give
Was
up.
that Biden who said that?
We're going to move
Yeah.
on. Second segment.
Will you shut up?
Yep.
Wow, I'm kind of impressed. You got a little stones there.
They sure
47 years you've done nothing. They understand.
Well, there you go.
Subject.
Good for pointing that out.
47 years, you got nothing.
Yeah.
Let's try to be serious about it. We have
Got the crime bill. Locked
Did
up
you hear
more
it?
black people.
coronavirus.
Do you hear the moderator? Let's try to be serious about this.
Yeah.
Even
Oh, this is fun.
They should have some rotten vegetables there they can throw at each other.
years.
There's nobody there to throw it at them, though.
Anything.
Oh, throw at each other. Never mind.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying the audience. I'm like, but there's no audience.
What you have said
They should do that with debates.
and what
They should give. They should have the audiences.
why should the American
They should give the audience rotten fruit and vegetables
opponent to deal with this
so they can throw it at them.
crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck.
Good luck. Wow, Trump's on his game tonight. Good
We,
luck.
in fact, have 5%, 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that,
Bullshit.
750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's
And when he shut down travel from China, Joe, you said he was xenophobic and racist. Remember that?
He knew
No, he doesn't because he wants it both ways.
this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it.
Is it a deadly disease?
Give people a warning.
Is the flu a deadly disease?
the American people?
Is tuberculosis a deadly disease?
In addition to that, what did he do?
I mean, if you think about it, you know,
China,
even if the numbers are accurate, sure, COVID has killed more people, but it's still, and that's if the numbers are accurate, it's killed more people, but at the same time,
what a great she
it's
was
still, I
doing.
mean, anybody dead is sad, but it's, people die all the time from diseases, but it's still not that many. And the recovery rate's 99%.
I laid out
Sir,
back
it's
in
just 2
March
minutes.
exactly what
I hear you, Kevin. You're right.
in July. What we
What'd
should
Kevin say? Is he
He
talking
said
to the
Biden
chat?
can't remember what he had for breakfast.
do in order to be able to go out and get people they need.
It's like I want to be critical of Trump too, but Biden is making it so hard.
in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
So if
Wait,
we would have listened to
You have 2 minutes, sir.
if we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000. And one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault.
Wuhan virus.
About numbers, you don't know how many.
You
people
notice
died.
he says China now instead of
Yeah.
China?
You don't know how many people died.
He doesn't say Bigley either.
Just so you understand. But if you look at what we've done,
Debate I was watching.
Just for the record, for those who are listening in, I don't believe any of the numbers the government's throwing at us. I don't believe for 1 second 200,000 people died from COVID.
You thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of
Sorry,
you.
I was playing something in the background. If anybody heard that, my bad.
Governor, oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that
I remember Cuomo saying that.
my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job.
See, here's the thing they forget, Kirby.
We got the
They
mask.
forget that we can access the videos.
And now
You can go on YouTube right now
we're
and
doing-
find the video of New York Governor Cuomo in a press conference telling people that he thinks Trump had done a great job.
You haven't
Yep.
done a good. And that's
But then
Well, you got.
got,
no matter
go
what you
ahead.
say. they give
but
you
then now you got Biden and his acolytes standing up there. Oh no, you were awful, and the governors all said so. Well, okay, maybe they did at some point,
But I'll tell you, Joe,
but they started out saying, "Oh, he's doing a great job."
you don't have it in your.
Well, you also got something similar to that. You got artists like Snoop Dogg, who was all buddy with him, and they were best friends, and Martha Stewart and all them, and now they hate him. He's evil.
People
I
died.
mean,
200,000. There was no.
why? What's the difference?
Sir, you made a
There was,
right now.
there was no.
What made them change their mind?
And there was no.
He ran
I
against
mean,
their
did they
chosen
realize he was bad, or are they faking it, or is he bad? And they didn't care that he was bad before he was bad for the wrong party, you know?
Well, when he was giving money to all their favorite organizations and causes, he was great.
We're in a situation.
Oh, yeah.
Lost your
And Willie was, famous on TV before he was
phone up.
famous on
And in fact,
POTUS
You would have
TV.
lost
How
far
many-
more,
Yeah.
far
That is-
more people.
And,
You would have been
and by the way,
months late.
your own
You were
his
months
his
behind me,
own his
Joe.
own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the
Oh
year.
yeah, cite the CDC, you moron! Like they've been right about anything.
Half those.
Well, they've changed their minds a billion times since
Oh
it
yeah,
started.
yeah. Tomorrow they'll have another story changing everything they said the day before.
I don't trust
Masks don't work. Masks do work. Masks don't work.
Dr.
Johnson and
Fauci.
They do work.
And
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen,
and
gentlemen, let me move on to questions about the future because you both have touched on two of the questions I'm going to ask.
Poor Chris Wallace.
The future first. President Trump, you have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer for the
My daughter Maddie says your shirts match.
available to
Yeah.
the public. You said
Guess
that
you got flags.
and mistaken. Those were your two words.
Yeah.
But Dr. Slaoui, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the company. We can have it a lot sooner. It's
Warp
a
speed.
political thing because people like this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer. I've spoken to all of the people that you have to speak to. We have great Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because the left, or I don't know if I call
So
them
you're
left, I don't know
suggesting
what I
that the
call them.
head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr. Slaoui,
I disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had it in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available. Just
Because
like
he said
Dr.
it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also
I'm
be
talking about
after
when it's
that.
generally available. not when it
Well,
will
we're
be.
going to deliver it right away. We have the military all set up. Logistically, they're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
this is
delivering
the
the
same
vaccine.
man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle.
The same man. He's talking to Trump like he's not there.
Take care of it. This is the
That
same
was
man.
said sarcastically,
That was
and you
him.
know that.
I
That was said sarcastically.
And so here's the deal. This man is talking about the vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not
No, Joe, every company you agree with, there are other doctors and people out there saying it's not worth pursuing.
Thank God we will.
Mr. Vice President, I want to
We have a flu vaccine,
pick up on this
and
question.
65,000 people a year die from the flu anyway. Figure that one out, Joe.
You said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further.
Well, what they would say, Floyd, is they'd say, well, that's because people don't get the vaccine.
Given the fact that
No, these are people who actually get the vaccines. And I know people who've gotten the flu shot and then they wind up catching the flu anyway. Well, that was a different strain. You see, the flu mutates and changes.
He puts pressure.
Okay.
With.
So how is a
Everybody-
vaccine for corona going to fix things?
Well, no. You can't trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust.
she
the-
said,
Yep. Well, I mean, there are different strains of corona. Corona's been around forever. I mean, the common cold's a coronavirus.
But there's millions of scientists. There's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great hospital, that don't work.
Yeah, Kevin makes a good point. He says the WHO and the CDC said that summer would clear it up. So again, who do you believe?
The vaccine very soon.
Do you believe the CDC or the WHO?
Exactly.
Then they'll change the story the next day and tell you something different because they realize it's trending in Trump's favor.
Acknowledged that he knew.
Kevin says that's me. I only got the flu when I got the vaccine.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
I haven't had
I'm
a
sorry,
flu
go ahead.
shot.
He's on record.
I've never had a flu shot.
Me
I
neither.
couldn't tell you the last time I had the flu.
Two.
And I've gotten the flu a few times, but I mean, I rarely get it.
A lot more.
It's been a long time.
A lot smarter. A lot.
I can't even remember last time I had a cold.
You used the word smart. So you said you
Wow.
were in Delaware State, but you forgot.
Wife
the
must
name
be
of
making
the
you some good immune building meals there.
Well, you know, I take the necessary precautions. I washed my hands before it was cool to wash your hands.
Smart about you, Joe. 47.
You wash your hands. What kind of cretin are you, man?
I know.
Joe.
I take vitamin C every day. So I work on my immune system.
I was put through. I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
See,
And
we're
it's
going to
going
get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's going up fast.
Okay.
Look forward to talking.
When it comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. You have
Kevin
been
Pierpont
more reluctant than President Trump.
grew up with lead paint, drank from a well, and ate hardtack.
If I were running, I know how. You've got to provide.
Yeah, anybody out there watching, if you just want to make comments on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever, go right ahead. We'll see it in the super chat.
Pelosi.
Well, he's just shush for a minute.
Tell it to Nancy Pelosi. And Schumer,
by the
Brian
way,
Chuck.
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with him in the Senate. And he sits on his golf course. And I mean, literally, think about it.
You probably play more than I do, Joe.
Think about it. Yeah. Come on, man.
Well, he wants to shut down this.
Now, see, Trump needs to understand something here, Kirby. If he would just shut up and let Biden talk, Biden would dig his own hole.
Just
Well, but Trump can't do that.
Yeah, I know.
He wants to shut down the country. We just
He
went
needs
through
to learn when to shut up and let them talk and hang themselves.
that elderly people with heart problems and diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned a lot. Young children aren't. Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states that have been shut down, they have Democratic governors all. One of the reasons they're shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until after the election on November 3rd. Because it's a political.
I want to move on to another subject.
But those states.
Listen to Wallace trying to get in there.
Respond to that.
President
shut down
Trump,
the
you
whole
have
country?
begun
Not going to happen, Chris Wallace.
recently questioned the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
No, I think
the
masks
efficacy
are
of
okay.
masks?
You have to understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had
Hey,
a test and
wow.
you've had
That's
social
what I do. I put it on when I think I
But
need it.
I wear a mask when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 100 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
Biden's the guy that would drive in his car by himself with the mask on.
Look,
Oh, yeah.
let's give them.
Now, I will tell you this, though. Sometimes that could be misleading because I got to, when I drive Uber, I got to wear a mask. And,
Well, yeah, when you're driving for
But
Uber.
I've been saying you could be driving down the street, you look over and go, look at that idiot driving around in a car with his mask,
Anyway,
and you can't see the people in the back seat because the windows are tinted.
And they've also said the opposite. They've also said
no serious person said the opposite.
They've
No
also said, well, look
serious.
at
I wanna
Dr.
ask you-
Fauci. Dr. Fauci said the
He
opposite.
did not.
How about Fauci going to a ball game and not wearing his mask when he's sitting around 3 or 4 people?
And he changed his mind. He said mask good.
What? Really? Pope Fauci did that?
Because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people. Outside, yes, sir, agreed. Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with people.
Not by choice, Chris,
Nobody shows up.
because nobody's showing up for his.
Why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You goes first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
I've
not
done a
worried
great
about
job
it?
being the president, and I'll have 25, 35,000
Well,
people
to be honest, there are a lot of
use airports.
cult-like
You're not
people
worried
that
about
like
people
Trump,
allowed
and
to
I
do
think
it.
that's part of that.
So far, we have had no
But
Oh,
with
well,
Biden,
that's-
it's just because he's pathetic.
That's party politics, dude. I mean, the Democrats do the same thing. Jesus.
Yeah, well, I mean, in my opinion,
and literally on 24
The way
yeah,
these
there was
people act,
definitely
Joe does the circles.
there was
and has-
definitely an Obama cult,
By the way, did
but
you-
I think the Trump cult, at least what I experience, is way worse.
and a reporter came up to him to ask.
Oh, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying if we're going to start downing people because of the cult-like attitude of their followers, Jesus, look at Hillary Clinton.
That's what he said. I can't. I'm going to be okay.
Exactly.
Well, both sides do it, so either accept it and deal with it, or shut the hell up about it.
No negative effect.
We've
Come
had
on.
no negative effect, and we've had.
What? You're telling me to shut the hell up? No.
Not you.
I want to move on. To
I would. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing and people wearing masks. Basically, encouraged them not to.
all right.
He's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy?
Yes.
The economy is, I think it's fair to say, recovering faster than expected from the shutdown.
Much
This-
faster.
In the second quarter, the unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected.
In the Fed.
Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a
What's a
K.
V-shaped recovery?
What difference does that mean
I'll have
to
to look
the
that up.
American people in terms of the economy? President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of 204,000 people is too much. One person is too
All right,
much.
make your mind up, Trump. Was it you that shut it down, or was it the state governors that shut it down? Which one was it?
Opening. And we're doing record
Here in Virginia,
I'm
it was blackface that did it.
people in a 4-month period that we've
Yep.
back into the workforce.
Governor
The likes of
Wreck-It
what
Ralph Northam.
before. And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people between drugs and alcohol and depression, when you start shutting it down, you take a look at what's happening in some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns. And I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that. We're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce. Look
He's
at
not
what's
wrong.
alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing.
Well,
And
I'll say this.
this guy will
Anybody who thinks the Democrats going to get the economy going again needs to get their head out of their ass.
setting records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
All right. Your 2 minutes, sir. We're now moved to you.
Trump, quit making me agree with you, or you agree with me, whatever it is.
Because it's a
Open
V-shaped,
that up.
it's a K-shaped recovery. What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well. Another
Cover what?
Who's a what?
another 300
What do you say?
because of his profligate tax proposal, and he only focused on the market. You folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? This guy paid a total of $750 in taxes.
Sir, wait, no, sir, at this point, yeah, I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him have it.
Do I get my time back? The fact is, he is, in fact, worked on.
Get my time back.
He's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president.
Oh, shut up.
He became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it.
Like us Uber drivers.
That he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the
Because
American
people need to work, you dumbass.
till you fix the COVID crisis? And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools, why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and schools masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. Unit 6 is now gone. He ought to get on the job and take care of the needs of the
You
American
need to be talking to the governors, Joe. They're the ones that shut the damn states down.
I have to respond to that.
Well,
Wait, I thought he wanted the state shut down.
He made a
Guess he can't
statement.
make up his mind.
No, neither one of them can.
No, people want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so
And they
sad.
talk about millionaires and billionaires, Kirby.
And
Why is it every time they say that and they finally get a chance to do something
they want to
as
get
far as taxes are concerned, it's always you and me, the guys in the middle class, that get hit.
I'm the one that brought back football.
Millionaires and billionaires didn't get to be millionaires and billionaires by not knowing how to protect their money.
Very proud of
Exactly.
You know
But
how
you and I don't have enough money to afford these high-end lawyers and accountants that they use.
First, Mr. President, as you well know, there's a new report that in 2016, the year you were elected president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years. I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax.
He didn't answer the question, though.
There was a story in one of the papers.
Show us your tax
I paid
returns.
$38 million one year. I paid $27 million
Show us your tax
1 year.
returns.
I went, you'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to do.
Show us your tax returns.
There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under-leveraged because the assets are extremely good. And we have.
Well, this is almost a repeat of the debate with Hillary Clinton over the taxes.
Yeah.
Talking about leveraging and millions and avoiding the question.
You know what? If he can get away with only paying $750 in taxes, more power to him.
Right, and I agree with that, but I'm just saying it's the same debate back and forth. And
Yeah.
and you know what he said in the last one? He said, he goes, when she said you only paid like a small amount because they released your tax return 1 year when you tried to buy a casino. He's like, yeah, it's called being a smart businessman.
Yeah.
I was a
Or having the right accountants and lawyers.
like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I
you
wonder
got
how much I wonder how much Hillary and Bill pay for the Clinton Foundation.
Tax
I
bill.
wonder how much in taxes they pay.
Privileges for depreciation and for
Who knows?
tax credits. We build the building and we get tax credits like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired right after that happened. But
Vice President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher on the money a school teacher makes is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out
You
there.
helped write the tax code, dumbass.
in the last 25 years.
Well, here's the thing, too, though. He wants to remove the tax cuts, and which he shouldn't remove them. But I will say that was a very, very crappy tax cut thing that the Republicans and Trump put together. A lot of people will be like, I did really well. Well, I didn't. I didn't get any tax cuts. It actually it made me
taking care of
it actually made me pay more in taxes. So
it didn't help me.
Your plans go
Didn't help me and my wife.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But then it helped other people. So either they're just like Trump Republican GOP bots who are just lying about it, or it helped them. And I think it depends
I
on.
do my own taxes. I use TurboTax.
Me too.
And every time you log on, you click updates. Do you realize how often they've changed the tax code?
Well,
And you have to update it?
What they did, though, is some of the tax cuts that they had on a federal level, they increased those, but then in an agreement, they decreased state level taxes or deductions, I should say. There were deductions that you could take in the state that you can no longer take, but they gave you more deductions federally. But when you match them, they either are the same or they're not as good. Unless you are in certain industries, I guess, and then maybe it does help you. So
Kevin makes a good point. He says that Trump just used the laws that were set by Obama.
Oh yeah.
So
by the
quit
way,
changing the damn tax laws.
The tax. I'm going to make
Get rid of income tax altogether.
28%.
Yep.
It should be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500 who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it before when you were vice president with Obama?
Because you,
Joe.
that was your tax proposal.
I got it done. And you know what happened?
Yeah, you got it done.
Our economy.
Trump's been president for almost 4 years now, but everything in America that's going wrong is his fault.
up on that.
Oh yeah.
The Democrats haven't contributed to any of this. I mean, they've been pure as the wind-driven snow for the past 50 years.
Lower taxes, American
Of
people.
course.
But let me, but
They're
in,
just
in Obama's, you talk about
perfect.
the economy booming.
They do
it turns
nothing
out that in
wrong.
Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery since economic recovery since 1929. Slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look,
Mr.
we
Vice
inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history.
Wallace is now debating.
We were able
That's
to
a
have
foul, Kevin said.
Jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't
He
booming.
blew it. He blew
It wasn't booming. It was the weakest
Oh,
recovery
sir,
since
is it fair to say he blew it when, in
When
fact,
COVID
there was record low unemployment before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse me.
What the hell?
Number three.
They said it would
Where's
take
Biden getting his stories from?
Chris. They said
What did he say? I missed it.
manufacturing went in the hole. We were getting manufacturing back into this country from other countries for the first time in years. He's making the same old argument that Trump benefited from the Obama economy. Well, Obama's the one that told us, get used to this economy, people. It's not going to get any better. Get used to the lower economy. Get used to the higher unemployment because it's not going to get any better.
That is not.
Then it started to get better, and all of a sudden, we'll see he's taking advantage of the Obama economy.
Not having
And they didn't come in with you.
These people have no conscience at all.
Take a look at what he's actually done.
Nope.
He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the
Yeah,
deal,
but what do you know, Kevin?
the art of the steal.
You're just out there in the real world doing real work. I mean,
We have the highest deficit trade
Yeah,
deal.
shame on you, selfish Kevin.
I know.
Eat your lunch.
Throw a monkey wrench in the story here.
He takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also,
Simply
while we're
not
at it,
true.
why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million.
Here we go.
What did he do with Burisma
None
to
of that
deserve
is true.
$183,000?
None of
Ask
that
a question,
is true.
let him answer.
None of that is true.
Oh, really? He didn't
Totally,
get
But no,
$3.5
hey,
million?
Mr. President,
it's totally
Mr. President, stop it.
discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait, he didn't get
No, no.
$3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
He got
Mr.
It's
$3.5
like watching a couple
Mr.
8-year-olds
Vice.
on the playground.
Mr.
You just
President,
called him vice president.
it's an open discussion.
Oh, he's talking about Joe. Never mind. Oh,
You have raised an
that's
issue.
confusing. He's not vice president anymore.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay him
report-
$183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr.
Look,
President,
my son did nothing wrong at
Mr.
Burisma.
President,
Mr.
The only
President,
guy that
let
did
him
something-
answer.
Mr. President.
He won't let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position
Oh,
has
Joe,
been
you're so full of shit.
thoroughly
By who?
discredited, and
The
Ukraine.
media.
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they refuse to
allies, by
talk
the
about it
World
because they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact, even
Mr.
the people
President,
who
please stop.
testified under oath.
Mr. President, please stop.
Yeah. Now let him finish, Trump. Come on.
$3.5 million from
testified-
Moscow.
He testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did
Yeah,
it
the moderator's scolding. Mr. President, please stop.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't do
Well,
a good
here's
job. With you,
Go ahead.
Here's the
Wait a
deal.
minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me. This
Hey, let me just
If Donald Jr. or Ivanka or any of Trump's kids had gotten the kind of money
Moscow.
Look,
that
here's
Joe
the deal.
Biden's son did from the Ukraine or Russia, that stuff would be on the news 24/7 for the next 6 months.
About all
Oh, yeah, they'd be screaming.
But Hunter Biden does it.
Bloody murder.
Oh, no big deal.
Coming down and helping
Go
us
ahead.
with
Go
government.
ahead, sir.
And that's such a.
Yeah, he was just, because he's a Biden.
This is not
Mr.
about
President,
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us with
family. It's
government.
about your family,
They
the
didn't
American
collect
people.
$3.5 million
He doesn't. That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about
you
here.
should
All right, that's
Not
the, end
about
of
here.
that's the end of the
Shouldn't
segment.
take
We're,
the money.
we're moving on. Vice President, no.
Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
No,
That's
He
a good
stood
thing.
up.
No,
He stood up
the answer to
and
the
he
question is
threatened
no.
Ukraine
No, sir.
with $1 billion.
Sir.
Is
Sir, sir.
not
Stop.
No.
Get him, Chris.
I said no.
true.
Gentlemen,
Gentlemen.
This is where shot collars would come in
Vice President,
handy.
different than the two of them.
Just hit the button and zap them.
We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have two
Listen,
uninterrupted.
children.
In those two uninterrupted minutes, Mr.
That
President,
seemed a pretty short segment for the economy.
I've been
Don't you
asked a
think?
question about race, but if you want to answer about
Well,
something
since it's not the president's job anyway to do an economy.
the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
I think it would be better served if you had all the candidates that are on the ballot on the stage debating. How about that?
Less than
Well, even the one that's not quite on the ballot, the Green Party guy, Howie,
President Biden, you say that
throw him in there too.
Trump's response to the violence in Charlotte
Yeah, nice, Kevin. That's a good one.
very fine people on both sides. Was
This
what
has descended into Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon fighting over Ann Margaret.
Yeah.
Trump, you
That's
have
funny.
done
Oh my goodness.
what you have done.
Hey, we ought to have Kevin on the show next time.
Any
Yeah,
president
yeah.
with possible
What do you
exception
think, Kevin?
of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is why
Joe,
should
Joe,
you
Joe.
Yeah.
Go, Joe.
your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes, remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins
We
bulging.
could invite Kevin on.
Just spewing
Yeah.
anti-Semitic bile and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president.
I'd wear Furman's
Very
boot.
fine people on both sides.
Oh, here we go. Back to Charlottesville again.
It is whose
Now,
2
second-
minutes.
He can't let go of that.
Is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible.
Oh, you mean the church they set on fire, Joe? That one?
The church said that it was the disgrace.
Idiot.
The general.
Well, he is right. He did use the church and the Bible as a photo op.
Oh, sure he did.
People at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist.
Everything's a dog whistle.
Division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans.
What about the socialist dog whistles?
African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man is a savior of African Americans. This man cares.
Oh, yeah,
about-
the Democrat Party's got their best interest at heart, Joe.
Look, the fact
What
is-
was it LBJ said when he signed the civil rights
You
legislation?
have to look at what
I'll
he
have
did
those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years.
to the community.
Yep.
So
President Trump,
Yeah, so they really care about the black man.
Americans.
Explain to me why black plight in this country is still the same as it was when the civil rights movement started.
super predators, African
All the
American.
money we've spent on that, and he's still living in poverty, right?
Never forgotten it.
Yep.
Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they called you a super predator.
That's
and
because
I'm
they
going
only
to jail now.
Democratic Party only supports the black community in name only. I mean, except for maybe a few of the actual black people in the Democratic Party.
You did the 1990s.
The only time they give a damn about black people is when an election's coming up.
Yep. Well, look at Mayor Stoney in Richmond. He's talking about giving this and doing this social justice thing and doing this and doing that. In the meanwhile, he's continually playing tag. At first, he's like he sends the police in and he beats up actual peaceful protesters, and then he goes in and he does nothing and allows the rioters to do whatever they want. Then he comes back and beats up peaceful protesters, and then back to and it's like, dude, and now you're trying to win their vote because they've said on your Twitter that they won't vote for you. Same type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's serious. Most of the activists that are liberal, man, they are not voting for Mr. Stoney.
Words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats.
Stoney lost the Ucrop family as donors.
At any place you want to look, Seattle. They heard we were coming in the following day.
Never knew they were donors.
We got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And
I'm going to have to agree with Trump on this one.
I wonder who's writing his speech, man, because, I mean,
All right.
I agree with a lot of it.
Of race. Vice President Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case decided not to charge any of the police with homicide, you said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
Yes, there is. There's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work.
Can't even get the words out of his mouth.
Law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women. They risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples. And when they occur, when they find them, they have
Ask
to
them about the Clinton crime bill, Don. Come on.
they have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers, to the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out so we change the way in which we have more transparency in when these things happen. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it, but we have to have a system where people are held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate, never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right.
What is peaceful?
Yeah, it took you about 4 months to get to that one, didn't it, Joe?
And burn down your stores and kill people all over the place.
That
You
is
say
not
peaceful
peaceful.
President
protest. No,
Trump,
it's
I'm not
not,
asking-
but you say it is.
President
not
Trump,
say
I'd like to continue.
Yeah, he wrote the crime bill, Kevin. That's the point. The one that 3 strikes and you're out, locked up a higher percentage of blacks and minorities in this country than anything since the Jim Crow laws. But they don't want to talk about that because Biden wrote that.
Critical race theory. Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane, that it was a radical revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody
what
else.
Is radical,
and he would know.
What is
Oh, it was
radical
totally
about
racist.
racial sensitivity training, sir?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and frankly, very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's the racist.
You just don't know.
Here's the deal. I know.
Let him finish.
You know what?
The fact
Like,
is,
a lot of people know I don't really like Trump, but that's the one argument I can't stand, that he's a racist. He's not a freaking racist. I mean, he might even do a little dog whistling. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really noticed it myself. Maybe that's my white privilege, but but basically, I mean, it's a bogus, I mean, him, hanging out with Snoop Dogg and all these other black folks and just friends with them, buddies with them.
Getting an award from the NAACP for helping inner city youth and helping inner
Yeah,
city
they don't mention
businesses.
that.
Yeah.
He's got Jewish grandchildren.
If he's a racist, he's pretty bad at it.
We're all
Yeah,
Americans.
I would say so.
But this is coming from Joe Biden, and let's go back and find the videos of all the racist things he said.
We can defeat.
But he's got the nerve to stand there and point at Trump and say Trump's a racist.
The Obama-Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred. You look at Ferguson. You go to many places. Look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more violent than what I'm even seeing now.
Oh, my
but
Lord.
the reason is that
ridiculous.
the Democrats that run these
Absolutely
cities
ridiculous.
don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
and you
crime,
still haven't mentioned.
violent
Are you in
crime.
favor
Hey,
of
Floyd, keep that private chat open.
Oh, you following
Are you in
it and a little
favor
bit
of law and order? Go
Yes,
ahead,
I'm
say
a
it.
favor.
You asked a
Everybody's in favor
question,
of
let him finish.
Law and order. Law and order.
Let him
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 15% in our administration.
All right.
It's gone up on his watch.
Went down
He-
much more
he
in
had-
ours.
All right, we're
He
down.
is
You're,
president of
Mr.
the
President, you're going
United
to,
States of America.
We
Mr.
were
President,
breaking every record in the
Mr.
book.
President, you're going to be very happy because
And
we're
the
now going to talk about law and order.
Places we had trouble were Democrat-run cities.
That's
and
exactly
those
my question.
Democratic-
There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in America this summer particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but in fact, there have been equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth. So the question is this really a party issue?
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look at Chicago, what's going on in Chicago, where 53 people were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200% crime. It is crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because he'll lose his radical left supporters. And once he does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, our suburbs would be gone. By the way, our suburbs would be gone. And you would see problems like you.
No, you think so, huh?
He took a wrong turn.
You let him come out here and try that crap they try in the city.
Wait a minute.
I was raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog whistles on racism don't work anymore.
Yep.
Suburbs are
More dog whistles.
integrated. There's many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat?
Is that like busing, Joe, so they don't have to go to school in a racial jungle?
Suburbs. His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded.
You were bused, weren't you, Floyd?
He has refused to. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though. And in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden...
Suburbs are in trouble because the same people that are running the cities are starting to run the
reimagining
suburbs.
First of all, what does reimagining policing mean? And do you support...
It means...
let me, if I might finish the question. What does reimagining policing mean? And do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding.
That's a generic statement.
Local police. The only one defunding it, his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for
That's not what the protesters are saying. They want to fund them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Joe's at odds with the protesters.
And why is the federal government supporting local police? Shouldn't local governments be doing that?
Well, not only that, shouldn't the states and the localities, the people in them, be keeping more of their taxes? And I don't pay taxes at all, but I'd rather pay higher local and a slightly higher state and zero to no federal tax, because that money's going directly in to my county or my state, and I can control it better than in the federal level.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's by getting to your ass by way of your elbow. It goes to D.C., and then Virginia wants to get some of its money back, so they got to go to Washington to beg to get the money back?
Yep.
How does that make sense?
And the cities, too, and the counties.
Yeah.
I think the city of Richmond just got like
more than 100
millions and millions of dollars for their police department from the federal government.
Many of those turned into riots.
And Biden just said they cut it, but it looks like Trump's giving them more.
People who commit crimes.
Well, it's also worth noting that Trump supports asset forfeiture,
the Democratic nominee,
and he supports red flag laws.
Yep.
Right now.
So does Biden.
You ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you'd stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted. And anyone who commits it should be
never
prosecuted.
called for the people, the leader. Excuse me, sir. You had never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to bring in the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Oh,
really?
Here's the thing.
I sent in the U.S. Marshal to get the killer of the young man in the middle of the street. They shot him. And for 3 days,
President Trump
Portland wouldn't do anything. I had to send in the U.S. Marshals. They took care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way, his own former spokesperson said, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that. And so here's the point.
Go ahead.
The point is that That's what he is, keeps trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to come.
You know what? If Kellyanne did say that, and I don't know if she did or not, she's right.
Together, figure out how to deal with
it. It does help his cause because people are getting fed up with that crap.
Constantly. And every single.
But the question then becomes, who started that crap?
Answer, sir. You have repeatedly.
It was the left that started it. The left is promoting it. The left that keeps pushing it.
No, you've been talking back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
Yep.
I'm asking you.
I would love to end it.
sir.
Well, just to let you know, Floyd,
Switch
our
seats.
super chat fan Kevin Pierpont's trying to join. That's that little square right there. He's trying to do it with his phone, so I'm not sure if it's going to work.
Criticize the
Oh.
vice president for
Get a
not
computer.
calling out Antifa and other left-wing
That's right.
extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn
Kevin, you might have to
and militia groups
get a computer.
to say that they need to stand
Yeah,
down?
Kevin made a good point. Stoney and his actions took our homicide rates back to the 90s.
And as we've seen in Portland. Are you
Well, I
willing
mean,
to-
it's not just Richmond. Look across the country at all the cities where these mayors and governors have said to the police, stand down, or we're going to cut back on the police, or defund the police.
Then do it, sir.
And all of a sudden the crime rates go up.
Well, here's what I don't understand. Well, from what I was following, Stoney would go from attack all the even the peaceful protesters to stand down to attack to stand down to attack, and it was all based on who was yelling at him that week. It really was. I mean, I was watching this in real time. I've been paying a lot of attention to all the media surrounding all that stuff going on down there.
FBI, his FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well, then you know what?
We're done, sir. We're moving on to the next.
Everybody-
We're done, sir.
Next one.
That's not an
We're
idea.
done, sir.
In your administration,
Sounds like an angry father.
Can I tell you
Yeah,
what?
no kidding.
Antifa is a dangerous,
All right,
radical
gentlemen, we're
group.
now moving on to the Trump.
And you know
Antifa.
what? They'll overthrow you.
When a
The new
president,
boogeyman, Antifa.
when the president seeks a second term, it is generally a referendum on his record. But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, "Don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative." And in this case,
Well, I'm taking Kevin's Hollywood Square off until he actually shows up.
Okay.
I'm going to ask each of you, why should voters elect you president over your opponent? In this segment, President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax. And you saw what happened today with Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all of these things where I had to fight both flanks and behind me and above, there has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying, it's time maybe. And then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of Space Force and all of the other things. A fixing of the VA, which was a mess under him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. It was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court judges, justices.
Well, I hope they're not as big a disappointment as Roberts has been.
Very few
Yeah.
people. You know, one of the reasons I'll have
Well,
so many judges.
What's his name, too? The one they can't. My brain's not working.
Kavanaugh?
Kavanaugh, yeah, he's no peach either.
Like, you just don't do that. They left 128 openings.
He's very bad on the Fourth Amendment.
His party, because they have.
I think he had something to do. I might be wrong, and correct me, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I thought he helped write the Patriot Act.
President, you can't be a
I'm
good
not aware.
But I want to thank you because it gives us almost, it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term. 300 judges. It's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker,
Good luck.
sicker, more divided, and more violent. When I was vice president, We inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and
Say
he
what?
caused the recession. With regard to
That
being
dude's living in an alternative universe, man.
on head-to-head
He's
with
telling fireside chat
him, we're not gonna
stories.
take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about
Man, he just can't let go of that.
American soldiers.
Your son got
And-
three.
No,
That's
no,
been proven wrong from day one, but they keep going for
My
it.
son,
Wait a minute, Mr.
Oh
President.
yeah.
Your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign?
You know,
Yes, sir?
he never keeps his word. Can
Because-
you add
No,
back
no, no.
He never keeps his
That was
word.
a rhetorical question. Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
I don't think Trump does a good job at that either.
It's 30. We're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. In terms of
COVID.
see, they love the class warfare and they love the identity politics. Everything's got to be about who's got more money than somebody else and who's got a different skin color.
And who wants to wear a mask or not?
The nation
Yeah.
can't stay divided. We
That's
can't
the new one.
And speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being and just being
And that story was disproven, Joe.
was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got
Oh,
the
Kevin's on.
That's a conspicuous service medal. He was not a loser. He was
Welcome to the show, Kevin.
people left behind
There
there.
he is.
Heroes. And I resent
Are you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking
Now,
about
just so people know why Kirby, why Kevin, why me. Kirby,
thrown out of
when
the
I ran for Congress, was one of my advisors and my internet guru. He was my social media guy.
job until you
And Kevin was one of my advisors and researchers. I mean, if I needed to know something, Kevin would find it.
various
So that's how we all know each other.
My
Yep.
son,
he didn't have a
my
job.
son, like a lot of people we know at home,
Got anything to say, Kevin?
he's over.
I'm shocked he hasn't talked about riding the Amtrak train to and from work in his 47 years in government.
He wasn't
Yeah. Amtrak that loses, if they lose $64 million in the 1 year, that's a good year.
Oh yeah.
We've already
Yeah.
been. I think the American.
He loves his
people-
finger. Joe loves that finger pointing. Gives him power.
I'm going to make
I know,
a
but when
judgment call
somebody
here.
gets $3.5
Yeah, for
million,
everybody out there, I haven't said a whole lot tonight because, like I said, we're new at this and we're doing a lot of technical stuff going on and technical difficulties and trying to work through it all. And we don't have a producer, so I'm kind of the producer as well. So,
Yes. Kirby wears many hats.
Fires in the West are raging.
oh, let me go get them. Hold on.
Millions of acres. They have displaced
Brown, gray, and white.
thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President, you said, I don't think the science knows. Over your 4 years, the U.S.
It's been proven poor land management is why those wildfires get out of control.
Good point.
Possibly
And
arson this time.
the other point I would make is they don't mention anything about the 7 people that were arrested for setting the fires.
water, and
Yeah,
air,
arson, yeah.
beautiful, clean air,
Yeah.
lowest
Jesus,
carbon.
people.
Or
See,
the
they
gender
hope-
reveal. Or the
They
gender reveal
really
party.
hope that we're stupid.
But I haven't destroyed our
They
business.
count on it. They count on the American people being stupid and too lazy to do any research. But all you got, hell, you can go on YouTube
People
and
are-
find examples that counter everything they're saying.
our business
Shame on you
Yeah.
two climate deniers.
is forest management in addition to everything else.
Thank you. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't agree with a lot of what the president does or says, but I mean, yes, land management is a big thing for the wildfires.
Look, here's the deal. I think it's safe to say the 3 of us are not big Trump fans.
What do you
Okay.
believe?
Nope.
But
We might sound
I
like
am-
it tonight, but that's because someone is having him say a lot of the right things.
I am
Go
a
ahead.
truth fan. And when you're right, I'll give you credit for being right.
Yep.
Billion tree
Yeah.
project.
I gave Obama credit when he did things right. He didn't do a whole lot that I liked, but he did a couple of things I agreed with.
Contributes to the global warming.
And I'll give him credit for it.
I think
But if you're wrong, I'm going to call you out on it too.
Yep.
think we have to do better
Yeah,
management.
I mean, I all the time, give Trump credit for what he does right, and same with Obama, same even with Bush. And I
Well,
wasn't a fan.
here's the bottom line for me. Now,
management, good.
given the choice between these two clowns here,
You know, in Europe, they live.
if you think Joe Biden and the Democrats are going to rebuild our economy,
I was with them.
then you're living in an alternative dimension or something.
He said, "Sir, we have."
Now,
You
I
know
got a
what?
lot more faith in Trump to do that. Now, if you want a real free market economy,
that problem. I spoke.
you might want to look at the libertarian ticket, but they won't let you talk to them or listen to them because you might hear something that'll change your mind.
Well, the other thing too, like you said, we're not fans of either one of these guys. But I mean, if Biden comes in, he said, they're talking about how Trump is this authoritarian, which I do believe he has the tendencies, and he is on some things. But Biden said he's going to force a mask mandate
standards that
nationwide. So how much more authoritarian can you get?
Mask mandate and vaccinations.
Expensive, and it's
Tell me that's not authoritarian.
Oh yeah.
But they're going to put it. We're doing it to save lives. So
Yeah.
the ends justify the means.
And us three and Trump were all science deniers.
12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by $3,500.
California, they've simply
no,
ignored
but you would take a lot of cars
rollback.
off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me. Many people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have computers all over the place for an extra little bit of gasoline. And I'm okay with electric cars too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just crazy.
Yeah, but in Virginia, if your car gets over 25 miles a gallon average, or you have an electric car, you get hit with a huge tax penalty for it.
Yep.
New limits.
That's because they're not getting the money. That's because they're not getting the money through the gas tax that they're charging at the pump.
By 2035 and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong.
Yes.
One. Number two, if in fact, during our administration, I was in charge.
Please tell me he's not going back to AOC's Green New Deal.
To cheaper than or as cheap as coal and gas and oil. Nobody's going to build another coal-fired plant in America. No one's going to build another oil-fired plant in America. They're going to move to renewable energy, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that we are able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations and all of the highways that we're going to be building in the future. We're going to build an economy that, in fact, is going to provide for the ability us to take 4 million buildings and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out.
Who's paying for all this?
Do now to create thousands and thousands of jobs. We can get to net zero.
You're going to get rid of thousands and thousands of jobs and then create a couple thousand more. I mean,
creating millions of good paying jobs.
You're not adding to the economy. You're
prevailing wage.
Either tanking it or just
it's Keynesian economics.
And the first thing I'm
going to break this window so that someone has to fix it and replace the glass. So you're giving two people work: the glass maker and the guy replacing the glass.
Someone who has no
matter where you go with renewable energy, you're going to need oil or natural gas.
More
and the wind turbines are the biggest hypocrisy or not hypocrisy, oxymoron for renewable energy because they need oil and fire to keep them unfrozen.
$20 billion. Stop.
We're not supposed to talk about that.
Tearing down
and the bald eagles they kill.
Oh wait, that's why my fan isn't working and cooling me off. I didn't put oil in it.
Basically says if you have to balance environmental interests.
I got a couple of those old fans that you had to put oil in it every once in a while, or it locks up.
For example, he wants to make sure that.
Oh, I got ceiling fans, windows, and the old 1970s whole house fan keeping me cool right now.
This is a guy
There
who
you
says that you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles that exist now. This is a guy who says that the fact that
You and Bill Clinton killed the electric car in the 90s
And it's not $2
to
billion.
help the unions out.
As you said,
I'm
it's
Yep.
$100 trillion.
I'm talking about
Where they
the
want to rip
Biden
down
plan.
Go for a
buildings
minute and then you can go.
and rebuild the building.
No,
It's the
that is
dumbest,
not-
most
that
ridiculous.
is not-
Where airplanes are out of
Wait a minute.
business,
That's it.
where two-car systems are out, where they
Not
want to
true.
take out the cows too.
Not
That's not
true.
true either, right?
Not
This is
true.
a 100
Simply,
trillion.
look,
That's more money than
that
our
is-
country could make in
that is
100
simply
years if we're
not
going.
the case.
All right, let me
destroy our
because I
country.
actually
Come on, Chris, jump in there.
God, I don't want to agree with the president on a lot of stuff, but
4 million buildings.
Biden is making it very difficult.
For 4 years, building 1.5 million energy efficient homes. So the question becomes, the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good
100
paying
trillion.
jobs.
But let him finish.
He doesn't know how to do that.
$100
They-
billion.
The fact is, it's going to create millions of good paying jobs, and these tax incentives to people for people to weatherize, which he wants to get rid of. It's going to make the economy.
Okay, and then after you threw weatherizing, then what, Joe?
Hurricanes with the deal with. By the way, he has an answer for hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them. They may.
I never said that
That's
at all.
he did say.
You made it up.
Who said
And
that?
Make up.
we are going to be in a position where
If he said it, I'm going to say he tells a lot of jokes, which
jobs.
people aren't used to presidents doing. But I'm sorry that's not something I would take seriously if he said it.
billions of dollars now.
Well, you would if you could use it to your advantage.
Hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real.
Because you know Biden's followers aren't going to look anything up. They're not going to try to figure out whether it's true or not.
In Iowa.
Well, to be fair, there are a lot of Trump people out there that don't look up jack. They just
Oh, yeah,
I know.
In fact, but
There's stuff that say, oh, he didn't say, yeah, he did. Whether he was joking or not, he said it.
back into.
I will say this about Trump, and maybe it's a guilty pleasure of mine, but I hate the media. Have hated them for years. Back before it was cool to hate the media, I thought they
love
were a
what he
bunch of
does to
liars.
them.
And I love watching Trump
By the way,
just poke them,
a couple of
Eviscerate them.
especially at his press conferens, calling them fake news and stuff. It just tickles the hell out of me when he does that.
Kind of like what he's been doing to Biden tonight.
Hmm.
He made a statement about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
What
not
he
true.
did
Sir,
is he
you're done in
said,
this segment.
I will say this for Biden tonight.
"Stupid best."
He's doing a pretty good job of keeping his cool.
Mr.
Stupid
Because if
best.
somebody kept interrupting me as much as Trump is, I'd have thrown the man about
Yeah,
that.
his eyes are blood red.
President,
Yeah.
It doesn't look like his head's about to explode.
Final question is, I can't remember which.
His
of all
meds
the
are starting to give way, probably.
trouble myself, but and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
the economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what your
Oh,
environmental
man, we're back on that garbage.
deal
The Green New Deal.
itself as we move.
Even liberal economists said that was a pipe dream and we couldn't afford it.
you
We're gonna
support
build
the Green New Deal?
It's not a matter of whether we can afford it or not, Kevin. It makes us feel
that's
good.
a good statement.
The Earth's going to be destroyed if you don't do it, Kevin.
Support.
All right, let's tax the 1% at 500% tax rate. Oh, wait a minute, you can't go over 100%.
He calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen. segment,
At least not with taxes.
election integrity. As we meet millions
Integrity.
of
Wait.
Americans are receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early, how confident should we be that this will be a fair election? And what are we doing over the next 5+ weeks? Because
Didn't they just find a whole bag of military votes opened and tossed away?
Oh yeah, yeah.
after Election Day. What do you
Found a couple of trays of them up in Wisconsin? I think it was. The sheriff's deputy found them in a ditch.
winner of this
We
election?
know Ilhan Omar is soliciting people to fill out ballots,
I will vote
paying people to fill them out with various names.
when they're going to vote and what means by which they're going to vote.
The cheating has already begun.
There are people here who've gotten three ballots mailed to them in one envelope.
Be manipulated and cheating. They said
That's
that.
amazing.
The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots.
When the
Like,
gerrymandering doesn't work, then they start the ballot stuffing.
Yeah.
Send the ballot to Florida. Number one. Number two,
Stuff in the ballot
make
box.
sure that those people who
And I love how our representative is against our new amendment.
make sure they can socially distance.
Which amendment?
And they'll
The one to end gerrymandering, where a nonpartisan commission that is not appointed by a governor it would handle all the redistricting lines.
show up and vote.
Oh, and Spamberger's against that?
No, her and her thing, they're all saying to vote against it. Every Democrat in Virginia is.
You're able to vote in person.
I wonder why.
Whatever way is the
I
best.
can't
way,
imagine.
because he cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of whether or not, when the votes are counted and they're all counted, that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that'll be accepted. By the way, if in fact
It has been accepted since 2000.
well, let me tell you
What do you
something.
say? I missed it.
Because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over.
The last, what is it, Kevin? The Bush election,
So vote.
and then of course now the Trump election. The Democrats have refused to accept either one of those.
Yeah,
Now,
right.
They had to. I mean, ultimately they became the president, but they haven't let it go. They've complained about it. They've done everything they can to try to change it.
Transition.
This crap with Trump,
From when I won that
from
election.
Russia to Ukraine to whatever else they come up with next.
Different people. There was no
And of course now the article about him saying the military were a bunch of losers.
They started from
The guy who's the editor for the Atlantic magazine said, well, that may have been misstated, or that article may have been wrong.
country.
Yeah.
And caught him. We caught
Even
him.
Bolton, who's not a fan of the president, said that was a bunch of crap.
Yep.
General Flynn, you better take a look at
But
that.
they're basing it on anonymous sources. No, I'm sorry, dude. You're going to print a story like that during an election year. There is no anonymous source. You either name the people or you shut the hell up.
Solicited ballot.
Now, he did say that stuff about McCain. That's well published.
Oh, yeah. Well, I agree with him. McCain was a piece of crap.
If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions
God
of ballots
rest his soul.
over the country. There's
Yeah,
fraud.
thank you, Kirby.
They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump. Just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd.
Yeah, you're talking about how they go crazy and they make up a lot of this stuff about Trump.
People are really happy with it.
But anyway, it's like, I don't know, the fanaticism that a lot of these people have about Trump and the fanaticism a lot of people have about him, against him, for him. It's just
Virginia and other places.
Well,
I've never seen anything like
It's like
it.
I've said from day one. There's a lot about Trump not to like. There's a lot of things you can point to and say, he shouldn't have done this. This is wrong. I disagree with this. You don't have to make stuff up.
Right.
Just
What I'm saying is,
report what he's actually done.
the people against him are making stuff up against him, and some of the people that are for him are making stuff up for him. I mean,
Democrats.
it seems like everywhere. And then when you challenge any of them on it and say, prove it, they're like, well, no, you go research it. No, you're the one that made the claim.
Fraud. But in 2018, in the last midterm election, 31 million people
So
voted.
you made the claim, you got to prove it.
Voted. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so. Because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them, we don't like them, we don't like them.
But what
They
are you
throw
going to
them
do
out
about it?
left
There
and
are
right.
millions of ballots going out
What
right
you
now.
do
What
is
are
you
gonna
go
do?
and vote. You do a solicited ballot, and that's okay,
I know
or
your
you go and
complaint.
vote.
I'm asking you about the fact that millions of people
You go
have
and
received-
vote. You go and vote.
But
Like
what I'm
they,
saying is, what are
like
you
they
gonna do?
I'm going to vote in person.
You either do
Yeah, me too.
solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it back, and you're sending.
I don't trust them not losing my vote.
Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia.
He doesn't have to worry about losing my vote.
They're being sold. They're being.
No, what I mean is,
is a horrible thing
I
for
meant
our country.
them losing who I vote for.
This is
Yeah.
not going to end well.
There is
Okay.
no
This
evidence
is
of that.
not
They're going to say you meant to vote for Biden.
Had
Go ahead,
mail-in ballots.
See, for me, what scares me, and I mean it genuinely scares me, is that
And you don't
they're
have
destroying the integrity of our election system.
your own. What we're saying
And
is
it, you know,
has to
whether
be a-
your guy wins or the other guy wins, doesn't matter who wins.
if it doesn't
What
get in,
matters to me is that it's done
it's still
legit.
be-
That all the votes are counted. My vote counts. Your vote counts.
You're
And
wrong.
whoever wins, wins.
I want to continue.
But
with
when
you.
you've got this crap they got now with the mail-in voting, and like I said, I posted the other day on Facebook about there's over 1,200
over the years with
cases now of voter fraud in just the past 8 years.
mail-in, that
Well, I got a question. What's the difference in the absentee and the mail-in ballot?
they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity. Or
Kevin, you want to jump in on that one?
The question I have is: are you
I
concerned
think-
that the Supreme
I think
Court Barrett will settle any dispute?
you have to. I think you're solicited for the.
because
I don't know. There's more of a approval process for getting an absentee ballot, like you're voting
Right.
out of state or something like that.
you didn't
Yeah,
know
that's
There's,
how I
uh,
understood it.
Yeah. And there's an ID involved. You have to show some ID or have your vote verified by somebody. You might even have to get it notarized
sufficient to be able
Yeah,
to
you
verify
have
that
to-
you are the person
You
who
have to
voted.
apply for it in advance,
body in the correct
well in advance.
voted for.
But now with the mail-in voting, it's like you were saying, Kirby, people are getting ballots in the mail.
legitimate.
They fill it out, send it back. They don't have to verify who they are. They don't have to show it to
Yeah.
anybody for proof.
With the absentee, you have to have a reason for it as well.
Yeah. You're going to be in,
Gentlemen,
I don't know, you're going on an African safari the week of the election, so you won't be here
Going
to
to
vote.
Mars for the week with Elon Musk.
Yeah, you and Elon are heading
Yeah.
up to Mars.
law, eight
That could
months.
happen.
Virginia got rid of that. You don't have to have a reason to vote early or absentee vote right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they got rid of all that.
Well, not surprising. Did they do it in this Democratic session?
That we are not tonight.
I don't think it was this session. I think it was done last cycle.
Find out
So when the
tonight.
GOP was in charge.
So first for you, sir. Finally,
Yeah,
for
well, if you want to call Kirk Cox that.
the other, urge your supporters to stay calm.
That's funny. I know him, and I remember when I first met him, I thought he was one of the most conservative people in the world. I worked for his campaign, and now I'm just like, get away from me.
The election has been independently certified.
Oh, no.
No sense, Kirk.
My support.
I'm waiting. I need somebody to run for governor because Amanda's just lost her mind.
Oh, yeah.
Do it.
Like
As you-
attacking people in their restaurants for making them wear a mask.
They're called
Yeah.
Which is a
I mean,
very
that's the business.
thing. They
Yeah,
were
she started out. She was tough. She was a good legislator. She did some good things, and then
And I am urging.
she's went down.
I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's
Now, we're going to be called fake news now by her people if they get hold of this video.
thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell
And
you
what
what.
does that
You're
mean?
going to be attacked, Kevin.
what
Your
it means.
people that
Huh?
like to-
You have a
I
fraudulent.
said
you're
and
sending
what do you-
out
her people are going to go out and start attacking us now that we
Yeah.
said something bad about her on video.
They cheat.
Well,
cheat. Hey,
she ain't in the CCRC anymore, so
basket. 3 days ago,
I know she did stuff like
ballots. They were military. They all had
there were
the same.
several people that created a site for her, and she was part of the site, and then she wanted control of it. They wouldn't let her have it, and I don't know what their motives are. I don't think they're necessarily
and
good, necessarily could be bad. They even made me a moderator out of the blue. But anyway, so she was saying they were a fake group, and on and on and on, and then they doxed the people that made the group, put out their address, all sorts of stuff.
Ballots going to take
oh
time
god,
away. Our military.
all the
Yeah,
stuff
I
she learned
said
from
it.
Winter.
First sense at the
Take
end of
me
this
to court. I mean, I said it.
That's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it
She
for
wants
them
to sue everybody too now.
fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots. That somehow it's a fraudulent process.
Joe, you're an idiot.
Take a look at Carolyn Maloney's race.
I just posted the other day that several articles, not just one, several showing there are over 1,200 examples of people being arrested and charged with voter fraud. And guess what?
And not one of them is from InfoWars.
Every one of them was pro-Democrat, anti-Republican.
That'll be the end of it.
So it was Democrats trying to cheat. Have you ever noticed that when they find
Be a president.
missing ballots,
Democrat.
they're always in favor of the Democrat candidate?
This guy.
So I got a question. What's with all the accusations of GOP voter suppression? What's
ballot count.
We're going to
throwing
leave
it out there?
To be continued as in more debates.
You hear those accusations all the time.
Trump.
Well, it's because they want you to have an ID to prove who you are.
I want to thank you both for.
I haven't seen anybody
yeah,
out in white hoods beating
Right,
people
hold on,
with
let's see what they're
the-
saying here.
I want to thank Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. The two vice presidential nominees, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris, will debate at 9 p.m. Eastern that night. We hope you watch. Until then, thank you and good night.
I just thought of something funny, but I'm not going to say it.
Can't you just stay home and let mother debate her?
It's a Kamala joke, but it's kind of risque, so I'll hold off on that for now.
Yeah, you might.
well, what-
This is somewhat a family show, I guess.
Somewhat.
Yeah, we don't want to go down a hole.
Yeah, you never know who might be listening. All right. Well, folks, if you're still with us, that was our first effort at such a thing. We're still learning. If you have any suggestions on how to improve, make things better, do it different, whatever, please let
Other
us know.
software.
Yeah, please. Right now, what are we using, Kirby? Live Studio?
It's actually called Restream.io or Restream.
Restream. Okay.
Mhm.
So
We're using
again,
the free version.
all right. So if you have any suggestions, let us know. We're open to them, and we want to make things more interesting for you as well. And Kevin, thanks for coming on board. I appreciate all the comments and getting you involved in this. Another one of the things we hope to do is, not necessarily commenting on debates because they're not going to be doing those every day. But, every now and then if an important topic comes up, we can get a group of people together and just have an open forum and include chat input from people watching. So this is something else we're also thinking about doing.
Yep.
And thanks to Kirby for setting this up and handling the technical glitches that were happening early on. So got that straightened out.
Yeah, I actually have a test version of this, and I was testing it on a secret private server. No, just kidding. On a secret, not a secret, on a private YouTube channel, and basically everything worked fine. And then for some reason it just wouldn't work. So I had to go and that's why I was like not saying a whole lot. I had to go and change all the links because it had a certain link for the original broadcast, and I had to change it all. But anyway, I made it work. So.
All right. Now, if I understand correctly, Kirby, this has been recorded, and people will be able to play it back and watch it again if they want to.
Oh yeah, they'll be able to look at it on Facebook and YouTube. Try to look at YouTube because we're trying to build up video views so we can eventually get our channel remonetized. YouTube, when they made changes, demonetized our channel, not for any political reasons, but just because, the whole reason they made it higher for the standards was because they said it would stop voter fraud originally. I don't know. But anyway.
In voter fraud not happening, just according to Joe.
Well, they said it would stop bad actors, like people trying to influence the election. But all it did was hurt small people. I mean, there are people that don't even do political stuff that got hurt by the YouTube change, and it's really awful. They upped how many subscribers and how many views you got to have to monetize. And a lot of these people that make millions on there for like doing makeup tutorials and prank channels, they're saying if this had been the situation when they started, they would have never been able to make any money because they were taking the money they were getting and putting it back into the show continually. So most of this I've had to do out of pocket. So it's kind of a shame that YouTube basically they made it so the big people who are already big would make more money, and the people who are just starting wouldn't be able to break in anymore, which kind of That was the whole thing about YouTube. That's why they were started, to break out video people. So they've kind of screwed their tradition, I guess, for money.
Okay. And
Well, maybe we won't get another Justin Bieber.
And in case Kirby or I haven't mentioned it earlier, please check out our Liberty Activist Media Network on YouTube. If you want to see more videos by us as individuals, you'll find them there. You'll also find some of them at floydbayneontheissues.com. So check that out as well.
That's floydbayne.com.
Excuse me, floydbayne.com. The title of the page is Floyd
He
Bayne
doesn't know this stuff. That's all for me.
That's the technical guy there.
Well, hey, before we go, let's so anything that stuck out about something that maybe Trump said? I know we didn't listen to him a whole lot, but stuff that Trump said, stuff that Biden said that was good, bad, anything you noticed about any of the interactions?
Well, I think it was Trump being Trump. He didn't know when to shut up.
Right.
And I think there's a time and place for that. I don't think tonight was it. Frankly, I think if you give some people enough rope, they hang themselves. And if he'd have just been quiet and let Biden talk, people would have been able to see just how dense Biden is and how wrong his policy ideas are. And Kirby, I believe you said it earlier, and Kevin made the same comment that, I hate to sound like I agree with Trump so much, but, look, when he's saying stuff that makes sense, I'll agree with it. If he's saying something stupid.
Yeah, when Biden's saying stuff that makes no sense or is wrong or...
Well, I mean, the stuff Biden's talking about is stuff that's been tried, and it doesn't work.
Yep. Well, they'd say the same thing about the stuff Trump is trying, like Hillary in 2016 was attacking him on the debate about trickle and voodoo economics, but trickle down economics, I'm not talking about giving crony capitalists, money they don't deserve. I'm against that. Yeah, but I'm saying when you give tax breaks to people who are making jobs, it's going to trickle down. It works.
It's just common sense. It's economics 101 if you pay any attention.
Yep.
This idea that
too many of them are being taught Keynesian economics.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I will say Biden kept on the Democrat playbook flawlessly, whether he had his earpiece in or not. He kept on it, and then he broke and said, "You clown, you idiot, shut up." That makes for good entertainment, but.
Yes,
it really just shows they have nothing other than orange man bad, donkey good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. He's trying to be like Trump. Shut up.
Yeah.
Well, you know that his fans, his followers out there were just jumping up and down out of their seats when he did that. And that's fine, because that the Trump people were doing the same thing when Trump kept cutting in and making his points. And I got to give Biden credit. He kept us cool. Saying shut up and all might seem a little out of character, but frankly, if it was Trump doing that to me, I'm not sure I wouldn't have thrown the mic at him. But
yeah, I might have been saying some worse things.
Yeah.
Have Secret Service tackle me.
Well, it is annoying as hell when you're trying to make a point and somebody keeps cutting in on you. Again, Trump, shut up, let the man talk. If he says something that's stupid, you're going to have time to respond to it and point out how stupid it is.
Hey, that made me think, since, Biden was former vice president and Trump's president, so they both have Secret Service. So my question is, what would happen if the two of them had gone at it? Would the Secret Service be fighting each other?
No, I don't think that's how it would be.
It'd been like when Trump did the stunner to Vince McMahon.
Yeah, that's right. You forget Trump's been on WWE, so he knows how to wrestle.
I remember that. Yeah. He was part of their little thing.
Yeah, but that's also, even going back to some things like Trump, Trump likes to ramble and he just keeps saying the same thing over and over again. Then he hits a nugget. And the one nugget I liked was when they talked about the climate change or the wildfires being blamed on climate change. Dead on point. All he had to do was stop saying anything about science, just start talking straight about poor land management and not the need for land clearing, because you got to clear land of dead trees because yes, they don't explode. They're not going to internally, just spontaneously combust. But a dry tree, when it catches on fire and it gets heated up enough, it will explode and it will send shrapnel.
Yeah, it's kindling. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's common sense, and it's not a political issue, or it shouldn't be. But because Trump said it, even though there are people who do this sort of land management who agreed and said, yes, he's right, the left, as you would expect, goes nuts because Trump said it.
Right.
Now, you may not like the way he said it. You may not like Trump. I get all that. But if he's right, he's right. Mm-hmm. And when you have all this debris and brush and dead wood laying around, a small fire can go like that and become a wildfire.
Well, on a lot of these issues, part of me wonders, because I felt like I think someone has been honing Trump, ever since he got in, because he was all over the place, and and he would say this and he would say that, and then he would seem to contradict himself and stuff he said a few years earlier, or and he was giving money to all sorts of liberals and stuff like that, and I'm wondering if he believes any of it, or if he's just saying what they're telling him to say because they're telling him it's going to make you popular, it's going to help you become
president. That's a good question and a good point. When it comes to principles, do you have any?
I don't think he has any.
And so I guess then the question becomes, are you willing to let him be a puppet as long as the puppet masters are doing the things you want him to do? I prefer somebody with principles who can state those principles and back them up, and then you know who you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, that's like I used to vote for people all the time because I knew they would vote the right way, even though I knew they were scumbags. I won't mention his name, but anyway, go ahead. right here. He used to be a senator in my district.
Oh, I know. I know.
Anyway.
Yeah. And talking about just listening, the one thing I will say, if you're talking about that principle one, is I would say the president I would say he would generally supports law enforcement and believes in the military, even though he'll still send them out probably blindly like anyone else would, like any of his predecessors would. But I think he does have a genuine love for law enforcement and police officers.
But I think, like I've heard Floyd say for years, but I think he's one that almost worships them, because you could go the other extreme and just, there's nothing cops ever do is wrong. And he comes across to me as that. And you got, and there are individual police officers that are good, but then I've had police officer friends tell me that nowadays they're just hiring, in a lot of cases, just thugs that will do what they're told. And they don't say, no, I'm not doing that, I quit. That's wrong. Or turning in other cops because of the blue line thing. And so there's that kind of corruption. And then you have mayors that are using these guys, like I said, willy-nilly. They tell them they can't do anything. And then when they want to crush somebody, they say, go ahead, go do it. And it's just, the whole system needs to be, that's something some of these protesters do have right. The whole system needs to be redone. But I don't think someone like Trump sees that. And I think someone like Biden wants to redo them in a way that would make them ineffective and not good at all.
So Trump wants to throw red meat to the base, and we see that both sides do it. They find the right talking points and they keep pounding that talking point. For me, what worries me is that the fact that we need police reform. We need it. There are things that need to be changed. We need to get rid of asset forfeiture.
Yeah,
police should be responsible when they mess up.
Yep.
And we shouldn't have to worry that just because they're the police, we're going to give them a pass.
Right.
So there has to be some sort of system in place to hold them accountable when they screw up and violate our rights.
Well, the qualified immunity is not automatic either. Colonel Katz put out a very good on one of his our chief of police put out a very good post about it, that it's not as it's being portrayed, where cops, they actually have to claim it and apply, and the situation actually has to apply to that, to the immunity. So it's not always that. But as I said before, changing the system, the biggest thing, and the three of us have talked about this for over a decade, is getting rid of no-knock warrants. And Senator Rand Paul has his bill stalled in committee
Yep.
I've written to our illustrious House rep who, does her photo ops all over the place. She's not trying to push any of her Timmy or Mark to help get that out of committee into a floor vote and no knock warrants.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that is, I mean, like I said, you got a lot of the people that are out there in this protest movement, BLM. I'm not talking about the organization, but the people. A lot of good people out there because I've talked to them, I meet them, I talk to them all the time. I don't necessarily, video them and put up, what I talk to them about on video or whatever. But the point is, and then you got some really bad characters in the movement, and so basically, what I don't understand is Rand Paul. He's got that no knock legislation pending, and it's called the Breonna Taylor Act or whatever. But yet you had some of the bad protester types attacking him because he was coming out of the president's something the president had put on.
Well, that shows how stupid and uninformed these people are. They don't even know
this guy's trying to help the girl that you're mad at, and they're telling him, say her name.
He did. He said his name on the Senate floor.
Well, see, to get back to the how we originally started this, all of this has gotten lost. When George Taylor died, and of course we're getting more information about that now with the autopsy report, but when he died, I couldn't find anybody, right, left, black or white, who said, ooh, man, the police, who didn't say that, oh, the police really screwed up. They shouldn't have done that. So we had unanimity of opinion for the first time since I can remember. And the police officers were arrested. They've been fired. They wait to stand trial. So why do we keep with the protest about this? Why did the George Floyd protest go on for so long? And then, as Kirby says, you got your bad actors out there, and we know who they are. I mean, it's, BLM and Antifa have their agitators who come in and stir crap up. And for obvious reasons, we know that both organizations are Marxist. But all of the talk about police reform gets lost because now people are saying, well, why aren't the police doing something about these protesters? Well, good question. Why aren't they? Maybe because they know if they bust some heads that they're going to get in trouble again. Because, as I've tried to point this out to some people,
they have been busted heads.
Well, I've
seen it.
I've seen these people go in and say, well, they need to be moving those people. They need to make them move. They need to stop the rioting or looting. And I point out to them, I said, well, if to do that, they're going to have to use violence. And if they do use violence, they're going to get in trouble again.
But I've seen them committing violence on innocent protesters.
Well, and that's a different animal altogether.
Enrichment, continually. Yeah. I mean, people that are, they might be blocking the street. They tell them to go, and a lot of times they're not. They move, they do what they're told, or nothing's going on, and then boom, they just start coming in like crazy. And then, like I said, but then for a whole month, Stoney wouldn't let them in near the circle at all. So it's like he's back and forth, and most of the activists I know, the lefty activists, they're like, Stoney's attacking us when we're not doing anything wrong, and he's not attacking the people that are doing the stuff wrong, and he's coming in and just doing all this stuff. So I think I've got a point of view that a lot of people who are very limited government, libertarians, conservative, don't necessarily have, because I'm interacting with a lot of these people, and I'm seeing what's going on down there. I wish I had more video documentation of that kind of stuff, but a lot of times I just can't get down there because, living life, wife, kids.
Yeah. Well, and part of it is I can see being a police officer has kind of almost been like a teacher. It's become a very thankless job. It doesn't pay what, the sacrifice demand, what it demands with the sacrifice you go through, and the quality of people that are coming in have gone down. I know with Chesterfield County, they haven't lowered any of their hiring standards at all in the last 30, 40 years to get more recruits. If they have a, they used to get 300-400 applicants for, 25 positions. If they can't meet those 25, they still run the academy with the best people they possibly can. And if people wash out, they wash out if they can't handle it. Baltimore, I know PD lowered the number of felonies you're allowed to have on your record. And Richmond City has done that too. So and Richmond City is, I mean, for all their issues, is still a very solid department. I mean, there's a lot of bad political things going on there. All the mayors have destroyed it with the revolving door of police chiefs, so you don't have steady leadership. But it's really come down to how are you going to recruit the good and top quality people who can handle the job and do it right.
Right.
To fill these
And then
positions.
you got a lot of these guys that they're a lot of them aren't educated on rights either. So they're told, oh, well, you could go do this by their commander, and then they go do it. And they're not necessarily a bad guy because they're thinking, oh, this is part of the job. This is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that some of what they're told to do and some of what they do is not what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. And I catch this personally because I have family members who are police officers, and my brother's actually a training officer for Chesterfield. So, And
I was talking more in Richmond. I know more about them than my own county.
Oh, yeah. But no, yeah.
Well,
I have friends in different districts, and, and he knows people in Henrico and Richmond. And, so so a lot of stuff, he'll tell me, this is wrong, that's wrong. But, he said, but I can only really speak to my department. But I even asked him about the George Floyd. He said the main officer, he should have been fired years ago and should never have been a training officer either.
Yeah. Well, it's 11 o'clock, and I think 2 hours is plenty. So
I
will finish with this. I wonder how many of these bad encounters with police, especially the warrants, no-knock warrants, whatever they are, could be avoided if we ended the war on drugs.
Yep.
So that would solve a whole lot of problems right there as far as I'm concerned.
Preach.
Anyway.
Maybe we could do a whole show on that.
Well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Appreciate anybody that was watching tonight. And again, please offer up some suggestions. We'd love to hear from you.
And I just want to say, this is the Liberty Activist Media Network. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the little bell so you can get updates. We need subscribers. Tell your friends to subscribe. Stuff like that. We also, you can give to our, there's a link below that you can give to us so we can actually get some money in here so we can keep buying equipment, doing stuff like that. Hopefully even maybe one day we get paid. So
get Kevin better lighting.
Yeah, get Kevin better lighting. Get him some paint and make the studio. Give him a little studio. Yeah, there we go.
Right.
No.
All right, guys. It was fun.
See ya.
All right.
Yeah.
See you later.